Where's the sun gone? That's what I want to know. I was in my office for 2 hours and I don't really get to see outside, and I tell you what, it was bright sunshine by the time when I went into the office, and now it's dull. Where is the sun gone? I ask. Never mind, it's up there somewhere above the clouds. You know when you get up in a plane and you get above the clouds and you go, the sun's there, it's a beautiful day, and yet the clouds block it out. You need to get rid of the clouds someday. Move it aside just to let the sun shine through on our bit. I'm always one for looking at life lessons, and I talk about are you ready to receive prosperity in your life? This is quite an interesting one because this goes back to last week when I saw Jordan was setting up Fife Fest in Silverburn, and I was asking him a few questions about it and the time and investment that's gone in and the resource and all the effort and the build up to that. I've got to take my hat off to entrepreneurs out there. You know, they see an opportunity, they take a risk, they really put themselves out there to do that. I've got to say that. They take a risk, they put themselves out there in order to try and make an opportunity for themselves. They put their money on the line, they put their money where their mouth is really, and they do all the paperwork to get this all through, especially Fife Fest, for example. Fife Fest was 2 days, effectively, a Saturday and a Sunday, which is a festival, a music festival, for some people that don't know what Fife Fest is. I'll probably tag it in this post anyway later on. And they've been doing a mountain of paperwork, obviously, for compliance in order to get this event to go on. Now, the capacity was 1,000 each day in terms of the number of people allowed into the venue. But it was a task, especially with the COVID situation, whether it was going to go ahead or whether it wasn't. So it was really all up in the air until the very last minute, where there was some finalisation from everybody. So I've got to take my hat off to everybody that actually goes out there and does this. And if you get a chance, please share this, because it's important that other entrepreneurs actually understand this. And other people understand what entrepreneurs go through. They put their money on the line, they put their time on the line, they take the risk, and they try and see the opportunity. Sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes it does. But again, I come back to saying I've got to take my hat off to Jordan for this, for doing that, and his father-in-law Stuart for helping them all out in that situation, and all the volunteers. What you don't realise out of these festivals that run, there's loads and loads of volunteers that give their time freely to do all this. The police, the ambulance service, the Silverburn Park people, the Friends of Silverburn as well, even friends in the community have just come out to help, to tidy up, to set up, to clean up, to manage the whole thing. Security as well, all the families and friends that run behind the bars, behind all the takeaway venues, behind the events, behind the scenes. All that goes on behind the scenes, and it's not really paid for, because it's a huge amount of money to run these organisations. A rough estimate is about £50,000 to run this event. Now you could do the math here. 1,000 tickets at 20 quid a ticket is 20 grand a day. So 20 and 20 is 40. You're not really getting there. So you've got to make up your money from somewhere else, if that is the case. So this led me to this morning where, you know, I'd seen Jordan and they were tidying up today even. So it's not just the 2 days that happen, it's all the days before and all the days after. It's the setup and it's the tidy up. So it's a whole week of setting up and everything in the paperwork that happened before in order to even get to the setup. And then it's everything that happens after the cleanup, which is all today as well. So these 2 days were a combination of all this that went on before and after the event. So again, I take my hat off to people like that. Go out and do that and take that risk and try and see that opportunity for themselves and make something for themselves. They don't just sit around, they don't just expect to have things happen for them. They make things happen for them. It's a big, big thing for me, having these people. These are people that create wealth. They create something from nothing. I mean, imagine that, creating something from nothing and making money. I mean, that's a huge thing to do. But that is the people that move things forward for all of us in our economy. The small businesses, the enterprises, the entrepreneurs. Create the jobs, create the wealth, keep the money in the local economy, keep everybody in jobs as well. So it's really important. But it brings me back to this morning when I was walking around after this with my friend Ian, So we're walking round, we're down the high street, we're at a coffee and we're walking round, and Ian saw all these 2 pences on the ground, and he says, "You going to pick them up?" And I went, nah, can't be bothered. And he went, "What? What do you mean you can't be bothered?" And I thought, well, and he went to pick them up, and he picked up 5 of them, 2 pences, and he gave them to me, and he said, "When did you get to the point of not accepting prosperity in your life?" Now that was a moment. That was like a sock in the chops. But he was right. And it got me back to thinking as well, because I remember Jordan saying this to me yesterday. I said, "How many tickets you got sold?" And he says, "I've got about 700 people. And he says, "I'm kind of all right with that." Now, I've been trying all weekend to get more and more tickets sold, because I know the importance it's about numbers. I'm okay with that. And then I thought, that's exactly the same situation as I thought. So I actually went to visit Jordan today, and I gave him one of the 2 pences. And I said to him, I told him the story, and I said, "When did you not accept prosperity in your life?" But that was my lesson. I'm always a great believer in looking out for lessons in life. Something that could teach me something. You'll either be taught a lesson or it'll be a blessing. One or the other. I would rather have the blessing than the lesson, because the lesson's obviously the adverse side of it, the blessing's the positive side of it. So, blessing all the time. But it was a real life lesson for me today, and it was important. And for people like that, say, look, I'm not particularly bothered in earning more money. It was another thing that came up this morning with my staff. We talked about that, and we talked about someone else, teaching someone else to earn money because they've got an abundance of money. And I thought, well, why do we not teach them to invest it in something, make some of that money? And they thought, well, they'll probably no bother wanting to earn that money. And then I thought to myself, but, even though you're not wanting to earn the money, and you have a possibility of earning that money, should you not really go out and earn it and then give it to somebody that needs it? Because if you can, you must. That's kind of how I live. And I was abruptly told, well, not everybody thinks like you, Jim. But why doesn't everybody think like me? If you have an opportunity to earn like me, then why would you not go out and do it? And even though you don't need it, why would you not give it to someone else that needs it more? A local community charity, an organisation that needs it, somebody that needs that help. And that was probably another lesson for me as well. Maybe we should all think like that. If you can, you must. So that's probably a number of lessons I've learned today. I'm always like that. I always think like that. I always look for opportunities. I always look for lessons that I can learn as a result of my day or interaction with other people. Because by growing and expanding your mindset, you then begin to think differently about things. You then begin to see opportunities. So when the opportunity arrives, you're ready for it. I was always taught this phrase: when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And for some of you, you'll get this and you'll understand it completely. And it will motivate you and it'll inspire you to do something about this. For a lot of people, it'll just go straight over their head. And that's okay. It's all down to point of readiness. That's it. And I'm similar. There is points in my life when I miss opportunities because I'm not at the point of readiness. But later on, I then become at that point of readiness and I see that exact same opportunity. Andy Harrington was a classic example. So Andy Harrington I knew from 10 years ago. Andy's a public speaker and he knows how to develop wealth and speak publicly and all the rest of it. But 10 years ago, I never saw that opportunity in what he did. People will pay money for things that you know. That's another lesson. People will pay you money for things that you know. You'd be surprised. Think about that. What do you know that would help someone else that potentially people pay money for? And that was another important lesson. And I thought, yep, I'm probably at that point now where I can teach other people to become wealthy as a result of what I know. Because if I've done it, surely I can teach other people to do it. So, if you can, you must. So that's my next step, to teach other people to be wealthy. And as a result, I get paid as well. But what do I do with it? There's only so much you can make, and the rest is just for show. I'm not a show person. I would rather give it back to local community and cause. So that's my next steps. So a lot of lessons learned today, a lot of lessons moved on from there, and hopefully you guys might have learned something as well, hopefully. If you have, please feel free to comment, please feel free to message me, direct, please feel free to even like the post, share the post, or whatever you want to do with it. You could completely ignore it. It might, like me 10 years ago, Andy Harrington, it might go straight over your head and you think, it's got nothing to do with me. But that's my thoughts for today.